One way you could speed up the processing of an I-130 family petition is by simultaneously filing a K-3 visa petition. USCIS will never expedite the family petition if a visa is not available. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I am constantly asked how to expedite a family petition, an I-130 petition for an alien relative. And there are two ways that I want to discuss in this video. So the first way is to make a request to expedite the family petition. But unfortunately, this is a difficult process, and usually USCIS will not approve your request unless it's for a very urgent humanitarian need, like someone's literally dying. That's a good example of when USCIS might consider expediting the request. But if you just have been separated for a very long time, and it's very difficult on your marriage to be separated from your spouse or your child or your parent, that's usually not enough. Another good reason is if your parent or family member who's trying to come to the United States needs to come here for medical treatment that is not available in their home country. Now, there's a few things to take into consideration when you're submitting this type of request. First of all, USCIS will never expedite the family petition if a visa is not available. So I've done other videos on the difference between immediate relative petitions and preference petitions. The main examples of preference petitions are sibling petitions or any petition filed by a permanent resident or a US citizen if you're filing for children who are over the age of 21. Those are all examples of preference categories. And the only time you could really ask USCIS to expedite those is if you look at the visa bulletin and you see that a visa is available in your category. If so, and USCIS still has not approved the family petition, which is kind of rare in my experience because they have so long to do it, then you could request to expedite those. Where I really see the requests to expedite getting approved are when you're petitioning for a spouse or a parent and you're a US citizen and you have a really strong reason for needing them to come to the US faster. Now let's discuss another way that you could possibly expedite a family petition. If you're a US citizen and you're married to a spouse who is outside of the United States and you're going to eventually try to go through the entire consular process and you've been waiting for a year, your family petition has been pending for over a year and you don't know what to do. There's two things that you could possibly do to speed the process up. Number one is you could file another family petition. You may have just gotten unlucky and had your family petition get processed at a service center that has really long processing times. I've seen people who currently have an I-130 petition for a spouse pending for over a year, whereas other people who filed in the last 2 months had approval notices issued already. And it was just luck, a matter of timing. And they were processed at a more favorable processing service center. One thing that is really within your control, if you're about to file a family petition or you have one already pending, is you can possibly file a K-3 petition. So what a K-3 is another way to file a family petition, but there are some nuances. So one way you could speed up the processing of an I-130 family petition is by simultaneously filing a K-3 visa petition. A K-3 is a visa for a spouse to enter the United States, and it's a little bit different than the I-130, but you could file both of them simultaneously. Now, there are some things to keep in mind. Number one, if you pay for both an I-130 family petition and a K-3, first of all, there are two separate filing fees. It's $535 for each of the petitions. And if you're using a lawyer, it's going to end up costing a little more than that. If the K-3 visa gets approved before the I-130 family petition, and you don't use it to enter the US fast enough, and let's say the I-130 ends up getting approved while you're waiting to enter on the K-3, at that point the K-3 visa is void and you have to proceed with the I-130 family petition. To put it another way, you can only enter with a K3 visa if your I-130 is not approved yet. And the process is a little different. So if you're gonna enter on an I-130, you have to go through the entire immigrant process abroad. And when you enter, you're entering the US as a permanent resident. But with a K3, you have to do some of the process abroad, and then you use that visa to enter the US, and you have to actually pay and go through the process to adjust status in the United States after you enter on the K3. Practically speaking, it might be a good idea to file the I-130 and the K3 at the same time. And what I see happen a lot is that both of them will end up getting approved simultaneously. And oftentimes, that'll get approved faster than someone who just filed the I-130. My theory is that the K3 is speeding up the processing times on the I-130s, and that's what a bunch of other attorneys who I collaborate with also believe. We don't know for sure what's happening here, but we see a general trend lately that if you file a K3 visa petition at the same time as an I-130, you're generally seeing slightly faster processing times. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can only file for a K3 if you are a US citizen. If you're a permanent resident and you're petitioning for a spouse or family member abroad, you can't file a K3 visa petition. You're ineligible to file that type of petition. Sometimes I would recommend becoming a US citizen first. And then after you become a US citizen, we can try to convert your already pending I-130 to an I-130 that was filed by a US citizen by sending a letter to the service center, hoping that that will speed up the processing times. But we will also try to file a K3 visa petition to really force USCIS to approve either the K3 or the I-130. All right, so I know that was a lot. If that's overwhelming, the good news is that I can assist you with this process and hold your hand from start to finish until your loved one is with you in the United States. If you need assistance with anything, please feel free to contact me. You can book a consultation directly through my website or by calling my office. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for another video.